So what does the loud plastic thwack of a neighborhood paddle game have to do with highly engineered urban acoustics?
Or strict concussion protocols, for that matter.
Right, or a massive decentralized army of franchised volunteers.
Hmm.
I mean, usually when you think about a backyard hobby, you expect a little casual chaos.
Exactly. You grab a Frisbee, head to the park, throw it around until your shoulder hurts, and then you just go home.
Yeah, but what happens when that casual chaos is, captured and quantified?
Yeah.
When it's engineered into a full-blown national obsession?
Well, it stops being just a pastime. It actually transforms into civic infrastructure.
Which is wild to think about.
It is, because the evolution of a game into a real institution requires this massive, often completely invisible mechanical framework operating just beneath the surface of all that fun.
And that brings us to today, because today is a very specific, very special date. For those of you listening, it is April 1st, 2026.
Yep, the big kickoff.
Exactly. If you've been following the trajectory of the fastest growing sport in America, today marks the official kickoff of National Pickleball Month.
It's basically their Super Bowl of marketing.
Right, and for this deep dive, we are looking directly at the source material driving this whole phenomenon. We're looking at the official USA Pickleball organization, and specifically, their massive promotional hub designed just for this month.
Which is incredibly dense, by the way.
So dense. Our mission today is to look way beyond the casual paddle swatting you see at your local park. We want to uncover the meticulously engineered nationwide apparatus that actually fuels this movement.
And when you analyze the framework they've deployed for this month, I mean, you are looking at a masterclass in behavioral economics.
Oh, absolutely.
And localized scaling, too. We're talking about an organization that simultaneously promotes, like, paddle parties while enforcing strict tiered point systems.
A weird combination on paper.
Very weird. But it provides a fascinating case study in how a grassroots movement doesn't just grow organically by accident. They actively construct a pipeline to convert curious bystanders into dedicated athletes.
Okay, let's unpack this strategy, and let's start with what is happening across the country this very minute. Because April isn't just a month with a neat PR label slapped on it.
Not at all.
No. USA Pickleball uses this specific window to trigger an immediate nationwide mobilization. The source material reveals that they turn the entire month into this incredibly welcoming, low-stakes celebration.
Yeah, we're talking hundreds of beginner-friendly events launching basically all at once.
They are executing an all-out blitz.
Exactly. Instead of just, relying on a slow trickle of people naturally discovering the game over time, they are manufacturing hundreds of localized entry points at the exact same time.
It's an overwhelming wave of access. I mean, the sheer variety of events kicking off right now is wild to look at.
Just the names alone are great.
Right. Just looking at the initial wave of activity for the first few days of April, you have an event called the Beal Deal, happening today, April 1st.
I love that.
Give it 2 days, and by April 3rd, you've got the NPM Mega Fiesta and a paddle party at Pickler Danvers.
And then by April 4th, there's a Rio Grande winery round robin.
A winery round robin. And the data shows 99 different events officially sanctioned and launching in just the first 72 hours of the month.
That is staggering.
It really is. It's like a decentralized national holiday. It's not one big televised tournament that you just passively watch from your couch.
Right. It's wine tastings, clinics, and advanced scrambles happening in your own community.
Which brings us to the genius of this.
What's fascinating here is that this level of simultaneous coordination represents a brilliant shift in traditional sports marketing.
How so?
Well, USA Pickleball is leveraging local community organizers and existing facilities to do all the heavy lifting of customer acquisition.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Instead of pouring $50 million into a national television campaign trying to explain the rules to an empty room, they just empower the people who already love the game to throw a neighborhood party.
And think about why that works for you, the listener. Like, if you've never picked up a racket in your life, walking into a serious, established tennis club is incredibly intimidating.
Oh, absolutely terrifying for a beginner.
You feel like you just don't belong.
Yeah.
But walking into a spring social or a winery round robin, the barrier to entry completely vanishes.
Yeah, they're deliberately using the vernacular of community gatherings, fiestas, socials, mixers.
Right.
And they use that to mask what is fundamentally a highly coordinated onboarding funnel.
That is so true.
Yeah.
You show up for the wine, you stay for the social interaction, and you leave with a paddle in your hand.
The genius is in the misdirection. The intimidating aspects of learning a new sport are totally hidden behind the inviting facade of a neighborhood barbecue.
Which brings up a really important question about who exactly they are inviting to these barbecues.
A very wide net.
A massive net, because if you look at the demographic spread of these events, it's huge. Their 2025 National Pickleball Month recap heavily pushed their core motto, which is Pickleball is for all.
Yep, you see that slogan everywhere.
You really do. And you see it reflected in the localized events. You have the Union Park Youth Clinic and the Cassville Middle School Pickleball Party operating right alongside the Chelsea Senior Center Easter Round Robin.
It spans the entire human life cycle. You literally have middle schoolers learning the exact same mechanics as retirees.
Right.
And the governing body is actively building out customized pathways for both ends of that spectrum simultaneously.
But wait, I have to challenge this, and I want you listening to view this critically as well.
Okay, let's hear it.
You hear "for all" constantly in corporate marketing. I mean, every single brand on earth claims they are for everyone.
That's fair.
So does the reality actually match the slogan here? Because it is incredibly expensive and logistically complicated to actually build out wheelchair-accessible courts, adapt equipment, and train specialized referees.
It is very expensive.
Right. So is this "for all" motto just a glossy brochure to look good? Or is there real structural money backing this up?
See, that is the exact metric we should use to judge an organization's sincerity. Because a slogan is free, but infrastructure costs money.
Exactly.
And when you examine the institutional framework USA Pickleball has built, they aren't just inviting everyone to the party, they are actively pouring concrete to build the ramps.
Literally.
Literally. Within their official governing documents, the wheelchair rules aren't relegated to some hidden appendix at the back of a PDF.
Oh, really?
No, they are integrated directly alongside the standard rules of play.
Okay, so it's woven into the actual DNA of the sports legislation.
Precisely. And it goes far beyond just the rule book. They have established dedicated pathways for adaptive and wheelchair play, which actually culminates in official wheelchair national championships.
That's a huge commitment.
It is. But to your point about the financial reality of this, the most crucial element in their framework is their grant programs.
Okay, yes, let's talk about the grants.
This is where the capital meets the philosophy. They are providing the financial blueprints and the actual funding to local communities to build out youth programs, adaptive athlete facilities, and collegiate series.
Wow.
Yeah, they are institutionalizing the for all concept by actually paying for it.
Now, here's where the strategy gets incredibly fascinating to me. We spent the first half of this deep dive talking about the welcoming, inclusive, party-like atmosphere.
The fiestas and socials.
Right. It's all smiles, fiestas, and community grants. But when you peel back that layer and look at the operational structure of the organization, you realize there's a shockingly rigorous, highly technical back-end required to sustain all of this.
It's a completely different world back there.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's like looking at a friendly, slow-moving neighborhood go-kart, but when you pop the hood, you realize it's running on a highly calibrated Formula One engine.
I take that analogy a step further, actually. Yeah, it's an F1 engine because they've built a hidden telemetry system that quietly tracks the performance of every casual driver at their local park.
That sounds intense.
It is. And it funnels the most competitive ones into a professional pipeline before they even realize they are being scouted. The friendly facade basically requires a remarkably dense, data-driven infrastructure to maintain its momentum.
Let's talk about that telemetry system, because we are not just talking about keeping score on a chalkboard at the YMCA.
No, not at all.
The organization has engineered a tiered point system, or TPS. They operate complex algorithms for player ratings and player rankings.
Yep.
And they sanction specific tournaments, including these highly coveted golden ticket tournaments.
The psychological hook of a rating system is profound, honestly. The tiered point system effectively gamifies a casual hobby into an addictive pursuit.
It totally does.
You might start by just playing casually at a weekend social, but eventually a score is recorded. The algorithm assigns you a number, say a 3.5.
And then what happens?
Well, human nature dictates that the moment you are assigned a 3.5, your immediate burning desire is to become a 4.0.
Obviously. You want the next level.
Exactly. You are no longer just swatting a ball for fun. You are optimizing your performance within a mathematically defined hierarchy.
And that hierarchy leads directly to the golden ticket tournaments, which, I mean, sounds like Willy Wonka, but it is a literal qualification pipeline.
It's brilliant branding.
It is. You win a golden ticket and you earn a guaranteed spot at the USA Pickleball Nationals. Think about the marketing brilliance of that. They took a mundane regional qualifier, slapped a mythological branding on it, and suddenly a 45-year-old accountant is willing to drive 3 states over on a Tuesday just to chase this legendary prize.
It creates a seamless continuum. It tells the casual player, hey, there's a whole world for you to conquer here if you want to.
Right.
But the genius of the design is that the casual player never actually has to interact with that F1 engine.
Oh, that's a good point.
You can stay at the go-kart level your entire life and just enjoy the ride. But the engine must exist to legitimize the sport and to retain the players who naturally age out of the casual fun phase and demand serious competition.
But, when a sport scales that aggressively, when you have millions of people suddenly obsessed with their tiered point system rankings and chasing golden tickets, that level of intensity inevitably collides with the real world.
It absolutely does. When a grassroots hobby scales into a national obsession, it stops being a private recreation and becomes a civic reality.
Yeah.
The speed of the game increases, the physical intensity increases, and suddenly the governing body is forced to interact with urban planning, legal liability, and municipal zoning laws.
And this was the most surprising revelation in the source material for me. Because when you look at the operational guidelines for the sport, you stop seeing the language of a park game and you start seeing the language of a corporate risk management firm.
Oh, yeah. It gets very legal very fast.
Yeah. They have instituted strict concussion protocols. They have comprehensive referee tests and certification resources. Like, why does a game played with a plastic ball and a paddle need a concussion protocol?
Because the demographics and the physics of the game are shifting.
How so?
Well, you have highly competitive former college tennis athletes stepping onto small courts and smashing plastic balls at maximum velocity toward people who might just be looking for a weekend workout.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
Right. The liability footprint expands massively. An organization cannot host thousands of sanctioned events without a standardized, medically vetted protocol for head injuries. It's simply the cost of doing business at a national scale.
But the physical injuries aren't even the wildest part of the civic collision.
The acoustics.
Yes. The source material outlines highly specific construction and architectural guidelines. They have dedicated manuals for pickleball court lighting and pickleball court shading.
Which is incredibly detailed.
And most incredibly, they have an entire framework dedicated to acoustics. They're literally engineering the sound of the sport.
Well, they have to. Consider the physics of the equipment. A composite paddle striking a hard plastic ball creates a very specific, sharp acoustic frequency.
That popping sound.
Exactly. When you have one court in a park, it's just background noise. When you have 12 cords operating from 6:00 a.m. to 10:00 p.m. in a converted residential tennis facility, that repetitive thwack becomes a major civic issue.
You start getting noise complaints, town halls get involved, and suddenly the sport is facing local bans.
Exactly. So the governing body has to preemptively act. They can't just cross their fingers and hope neighbors don't complain.
Right. Hope is not a strategy.
No. They have to commission acoustic studies, provide baffling and sound mitigation guidelines, and engineer the actual physical materials of the courts to reduce the decibel level.
That is wild.
They provide local organizers with an acoustics manual so that when a city council threatens to shut down a facility, the local players have scientifically backed, officially sanctioned mitigation strategies ready to present.
So they are engineering the sound waves to legitimize the sport in the eyes of city planners.
Precisely.
The F1 engine analogy just keeps delivering. I mean, you don't think about the acoustic impact of a race car until you try to run it through a quiet residential neighborhood.
Right.
They are calculating the shadows falling on the courts, the decibel level of the paddles, the algorithmic ranking of every player. It is a massive, complex machine.
A very well-oiled machine.
Which brings us to the final, and perhaps most important, piece of the puzzle. How on earth does USA Pickleball package all of this dense infrastructure, the acoustics, the telemetry, the golden tickets, and hand it over to the local community groups we talked about at the beginning?
They achieve it through what is essentially the mobilization of a decentralized workforce.
Okay, unpack that.
If you examine the host and event operational blueprints for National Pickleball Month, they aren't asking their corporate employees to fly around the country setting up nets.
Right, they couldn't afford to do that anyway.
Exactly. They are deploying the ultimate franchise model.
I want you listening to picture your local YMCA or the public park down your street. Think about how difficult it normally is to organize a sanctioned sporting event.
It's a nightmare usually.
Right. But with this model, the organization invites everyone to take the reins. Clubs, facilities, parks and rec departments, local schools, community groups, they are actively begging local leaders to become nodes in their network.
Contrast this with a traditional top-down sports organization, like the NFL or the NBA operates with strict centralization.
Very strict.
They control the broadcast, they own the arenas, they dictate the product, and you, the local fan, are strictly a consumer. You don't get to host an official NFL game in your backyard.
Definitely not.
What USA Pickleball has done is invert that structure entirely.
Wait, so if I'm just a guy who runs the local community center, they're basically handing me a franchise in a box. I don't have to hire a marketing agency or figure out the rule book from scratch.
You don't have to invent anything. Through their outreach arm, which is called USA Pickleball Serves, and their massive ambassador program, they provide the exact blueprints.
Who are the ambassadors?
The ambassadors aren't paid corporate employees. They are passionate local volunteers who act as the decentralized workforce. USA Pickleball removes every ounce of friction from the hosting process.
And the value proposition for a local host is incredibly clear. Like, you agree to host, and in return, you get national visibility on their main digital hub.
Yep.
You get the prestige of aligning with the official national governing body. And you get direct, hands-on support from those local ambassadors. They even provide a suite of downloadable NPM assets.
That is the business in a box. It's a complete marketing toolkit, high-resolution logos, pre-written press releases, social media templates, and event structure guidelines. A local school teacher doesn't need a degree in sports management to throw a flawless event. They download the toolkit, print the banners, plug their details into the event submission form, and instantly they're an officially sanctioned outpost of a national movement.
It effectively turns raw, unorganized enthusiasm into actionable, highly organized growth.
Exactly.
They aren't trying to micromanage every single winery, round robin, or middle school clinic. They know that the person running the Chelsea Senior Center understands how to market to their specific members far better than an executive sitting in a headquarters ever could.
Right. Headquarters just provides the F1 engine, hands over the keys, and gets out of the way.
It is a highly scalable, frictionless model. When you empower the local community to own the execution, the growth potential becomes entirely uncapped.
And the organization just has to ensure the infrastructure, the rules, the ratings, the acoustics guidelines holds firm underneath the weight of all that expansion.
So what does this all mean for you, whether you are a die-hard player or someone who has never touched a paddle?
It's a big takeaway.
It is. When we look at this single operational hub for April 2026, we see that National Pickleball Month isn't just a fun calendar designation. It is a flawlessly executed nationwide onboarding funnel.
Completely.
It disarms you with community. It uses the fiestas, the local socials, and the beginner clinics to draw you in with the promise of a friendly go-kart ride.
But waiting just beneath that surface is a massive, rigorous infrastructure.
Exactly. The tiered point systems, the golden tickets, the referee certifications, they are all perfectly engineered to catch you, quantify your progress, and keep you hooked the moment you decide to take it seriously.
It is the perfect synthesis of grassroots charm and uncompromising institutional muscle.
Beautifully said.
Thanks. And I think there's a broader, almost unsettling takeaway here that extends far beyond the boundaries of the pickleball court.
Oh, what's that?
Well, consider those highly technical acoustics and court shading manuals we explored earlier. If a recreational sport grows so rapidly and scales so aggressively that it forces a governing body to literally engineer the sound waves of its equipment and calculate the trajectory of shadows just to appease municipal city planners,
Right.
it begs the question, what other seemingly casual neighborhood hobbies are out there right now just one perfectly organized promotional month away from completely reshaping the physical landscape and zoning laws of our cities and towns?
Wow, that is a staggering thought to end on.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
It really does. You think you're just watching a slow-moving go-kart puttering around the park, and suddenly you realize it's fundamentally rewriting the architectural acoustics of your entire neighborhood.
Pretty much.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the machinery behind the movement. If you're out there listening and playing this month, enjoy the events, watch out for those golden tickets, and as always, stay curious.